Welcome everyone. Joya Goodrum here with the McMinnville Chamber. Today on our business support series, we've got Jeff Knapp with Visit McMinnville to talk about the tourism economy here in our community and of course, Oregon. And welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us. Jeff, I'm going to turn it over to you. I'll let you introduce yourself and tell us more about Visit McMinnville. And thank you.
Hi, thank you for having me, Joya, and everyone who's taking time out of the day to listen to me speak. That is flattering. I'm Jeff Knapp. I am the president and CEO of Visit McMinnville, and I am excited to have the opportunity to talk to you today a little bit about the visitor economy. So I am going to take a little bit of time to tell you a little bit about, make sure you understand who Visit McMinnville is and how we work and what our role is in the community. Talk a little bit about history, talk a little bit about the effects of COVID and what we've done over the past couple of years, and then look forward at what we can expect. So there will be some time, hopefully. I don't take up the full time, and if you've got questions, I would love to answer them at the end of this. But to be respectful of your time, let's get moving. And I've got a little presentation that I will try to share as fluidly as possible. But before I kick off, I would just say that Cliff Notes, visitation is growing significantly to McMinnville and has been over the last, 7-8 years. And we are experiencing a lot of growth, and with growth comes a lot of opportunities. It also comes a lot of things to be cautiously aware of and act as stewards as much as possible. So all in all, we are in a very good position as currently as a visitor economy. So I'll kick off the presentation right now and we'll dive in. Give me a second to get this to where things are. Oh, is that still seeing my... Are you seeing full screen or are you seeing like my, no, interesting. Sorry guys, exit full screen. Let's try it again real quick. Well, maybe not. Let's stop this one more time, guys. If it is.
Yeah, try the little screen button in the lower right-hand corner to do the presentation piece. Oops. Oh, I like your background. That's cool.
Thanks. You can see everything I'm working on.
Yep.
I pretend to be busy a lot. Nope.
So,
sorry guys.
No, Jeff. So over.
Yep.
Oh, whoop. Down in the lower right-hand corner, you see the little screen thing? Not that, the other one. Over to the left a little bit. That little screen. It looks that one. Click on that. Oh. Ta-da! You did it.
Amazing.
Yay, you.
You're not just a chamber CEO, you're an IT god.
No.
Okay. Thanks for having me. Thanks for all the work that you do for local business, and thanks for having businesses in our community. So a little bit of quick history of where we began as an organization and why. In 2013, the city of McMinnville decided to take a proactive stance to leverage the visitor economy, and they passed what it's called a transient lodging tax. They did so to take advantage of the opportunities to be proactive in engaging visitors to basically spend more money more effectively in our community with local businesses, and at the same time to help with local city general funds and helping with the city's budget. What is a destination management organization? That's what we are. We are an organization, nonprofit 501c6, whose job is to tell the world about McMinnville, make this an attractive place to visit and spend money, but also we're dedicated to helping improve the quality of life for our local citizens. And we do that through a lot of different ways, which I'll get into. It's important to understand just kind of how we work and how we're funded. There is a law in Oregon that went into effect in 2014. And basically, if you stay in a vacation rental, bed and breakfast, hotel for under 30 days, you're considered transient lodging, and you pay fees. You guys are probably all familiar with paying these when you go to hotels around the country. 10% of those tax dollars go to our city, 1.5% goes to our state, and the city retains 30% of those funds to help increase and pay for city services, and 70% of those funds by law go to fund our efforts. And those efforts are defined in statute by how we can and cannot spend them. Next slide. We are contractors with the city, so we are a nonprofit board-driven organization, and we currently have a 5-year contract. We're in year 2 of a 5-year contract with our city, and we look forward to hopefully keeping that contract for as long as we can. We have a really lovely relationship with them. I think this is really important. We retooled our mission, vision, and values this year to be to really bring the community into the conversation. So our vision is to cultivate the visitor economy to enhance quality of life for the community. So it's really important that what we're doing is not just, I mean, it is, we do that by a lot of different ways, and it is by supporting business and bringing dollars, but we do it in other ways. So we guide the development of McMinnville as a year-round destination, responsibly promote its assets and enrich the visitor experience while supporting livability. So we are stewards, and we are at the table in leadership roles to help keep things, balanced, and to really, make could and should investment conversations like what's enough tourists, how do we balance the impact of that? And then our value statements is how we do our work. This is our board of directors. I'll just let you briefly look at this. You probably are a lot of familiar names on here, but essentially our board represents 7 seats by diverse tourism stakeholders, representation for tourism stakeholder businesses. We have 2 citizen at large positions, and we have 2 seats that the city sits on our board as ex officio members. Our staff, we are a staff-run organization, myself and Kitri McGuire, Kitri being our Director of Strategic VP of Strategic Communications. I oversee most development operations. Kitri oversees our communications and PR. Jamie Korf, you may hopefully know Jamie. She is, prior to us, she did work with the MDA for quite some time, and Jamie is our arts and culture liaison, and she also is the editor of a new local magazine that we're putting out. And we just welcomed a new team member named Lee McCollins. Lee is going to be working in marketing and communications for us as well. Boop, boop, boop. How do I do this? There we go. So this is a little picture of how we think about our work, that we are in year 7. We're starting year 7 of our existence. So the first 1 to 5 years was really just getting off the ground for us as an organization to become functional. Where do we put our desks? How does the city work? How can we be functional? And we look at our efforts in a long-term lens of investment. We are moving ahead of our projections and following this quite nicely. We look at the work that we do in 3 pillars. So we are an economic development organization. We look at ourselves as stewards. How do we protect the thing that makes McMinnville special and not exploit that or cheapen that in any way, but to make sure that we're moving that forward in the best way possible. And then our identity is really kind of how we present ourselves and represent the community outside of the community. We do this by working towards trust. This is something that I think is really important with any organization or any relationship, is building towards this trusted relationship. And trust takes pillars of character and competence, and it takes time. McMinnville, in any new organization or in any community or any position, it takes time to move into this trust category. In our organization we work, this is a priority for us. And we use this as a model to guide internal and external the way that we work. We are happily part of McMinnville's stable table. So we, along with you, the Chamber of Commerce, the Downtown Association, and McMinnville Economic Development Partnership, all have the work very collaboratively. I'm really proud of how we do work and can convene conversations around our individual purview, but also look at the bigger picture. How are we all working together to move whatever the best plan is forward for the community? And how we do that. So economic development, a lot of, I would say one of the things that makes us unique as a desk, how we operate in McMinnville from a tourism visitor economy perspective, is we lead first with economic development, the why we are here. And I can tell you that that is not the case in a majority of destination management organizations, but it is a trend that most people are moving towards. So economic development, creation of wealth from which community benefits are realized. So this is, we think of ourselves first and foremost as economic development. This is a busy graphic just showing how we see ourselves in the community. We provide quality of life advertising to help, you don't think about people's perceptions of our community to influence whether they'd like to live here, as well as much as they would like to visit. Is this a place that they would like to live and become part of the community? Which I won't walk through all of these, but at a glance, you can see how we think about our work and how we approach it. I think it's really important, if you're not aware that McMinnville has an economic development strategic plan, I think it's really important that you do. About 4 or 5 years ago, the city went through a public process to determine some foundational goals and strategies. And we work in partnership with Joya and the Chamber and the other partners, and to help move towards achieving these lofty goals. And I won't spell them all out for you, but when we do work, I am happy to see that, we are working on several things in here, including becoming a leader in hospitality and place-based tourism. But along with that comes opportunities to foster opportunity and innovation and technology and craft and food beverage systems. So it is not just let's tell everybody and get them here to spend money. It is how do we do that for the larger plan at hand. I wanted to give you a little historic picture here. Take a second to take this in because it's pretty, I find this to be pretty impressive. On the top here, this blue line is visitor spending, and the red line below is the transient lodging tax revenue. So we came on board in 2015 as an organization. So this is when we started measuring. And you can see we were seeing at the time about $22 million a year in visitor spending into our local economy. And in those 5 years, this measures just up to 2020, we were approaching $40 million in spending. So as this shows sort of our efforts and deploying resources, because we spend the money that we make. If we're doing our best job, we're deploying those resources. So as we spend those resources, we see a direct impact on dollars flowing into our community, and we have doubled them since implementing this. What we see here, of course, is COVID and what happens when everyone stops traveling. We see, I don't have the economic data, but we will have that next month. Sorry that I don't have it today, but we will have that to share because we're always looking in arrears. But I think this is a very interesting diagram. This also is a snapshot of that same period of time, that between 2015 and the end of 2019, we increased visitor spending in McMinnville by nearly 80% across that period of time. Now, granted, we had a lot more room to grow statistically, but if we compare ourselves to Yamhill County, the Willamette Valley, and Oregon at the same time, they were trending an average of 16% growth in visitor spending. So Those things come from our efforts leading to more investments in hotels, more people coming to stay in those hotels to then spend money in the community, are the main drivers of those changes. This is the type of work we did last year and through COVID. I wanted to point that out, talk a little bit about that. So we, as a destination, we know that we lead with food and beverage as the main attractor, and we are trying to diversify our community and our destination by investing in multiple categories, including arts and culture, outdoor recreation, so more things for people to do outside of eating and drinking. And we've done that in a few different ways. So we work on wayfinding and investing with public art with the mural program. We partner with downtown to support design and messaging for our winter on 3rd. We are spending a lot of time and resources activating cycling. McMinnville is at the gateway to a type of cycling that's growing in demand significantly called gravel cycling, which is getting off of heavily traveled roads and into pastoral gravel hillsides. And we have an abundance of that. Working with downtown and all these different, not the smoothest I can, but these are some of the things we help partner with the city to go through a rebrand to align and help them with a more cohesive branding. And some more efforts visually. One of the things I'm most excited about is our monthly publication that we'll be putting out called Crush. Crush is a arts and culture magazine that will be monthly in McMinnville. It is not an ad revenue based format. Yes, thanks, Joya. It is available in English and Spanish, and the intention is really to build awareness for things that are going on and people that are doing really neat things or that should be recognized in the community for their contribution. It's really a positive propaganda piece to help move positivity forward. We work with electric vehicle charging stations in print and in radio and national influencers. We work with a PR agency. Besides our development work, we're heavily into telling our story using these pillars that we have identified earlier. Wanted to talk a little bit about businesses locally and what the easy things that businesses can do to benefit from the work that we are putting into. The city is investing nearly $1 million in our efforts annually to do a lot of different things. And one of the simplest things local businesses can do is manage your Google presence. When we started off as an organization, it still is a priority, but we measured our success by the amount of volume of people going to our website and then from our website to local stakeholders' websites. And as technology changes and things move forward, Google is still the strongest, most impactful thing that people use when they travel. Visitor centers are showing declining numbers because of, people use their mobile phone. That's the main way people engage. And so being aware that you have, if you do not know, your Google, I'm sure most of you know that you have a business profile on Google, but to make sure that it's updated regularly and that there's fresh pictures and content and that link to the map feature in particular is one of the easiest things and the easiest things to forget as well as a person. But that is something as a business that we highly recommend you taking a look at, as well as your website. So a lot of the things that we do are focused in or digital, right? So we are spending a lot of time out there buying advertisements and podcasts and radio, and all of those things are driving people predominantly in the digital sphere. So making sure you have a functional, engaging website and Google presence is the low-hanging fruit, so to speak, here. I wanted to talk a little bit about our fiscal year projects in McMinnville that we're going to be working, not so much on the marketing side, but on the development side. We are partnering with 3 big categories with our stable table partners and the McMinnville Economic Vitality Leadership Council Committee. I forget what the C stands for, council. So McMinnville has an advisory committee of which you have representation on as a chamber that oversee the work that goes into the plan. And you're probably aware that at least two of these programs, those being improvement for the infrastructure along 3rd Street and the potential innovation center by our airport, the lands out there to really focus on opportunities and dense, high-paying job creation are priorities. And we're dedicated to work in partnership with everyone on those over the next year. Kind of stepping back from that and talking about workforce, one of the things that we've seen coming out of COVID is, and I'm sure all industries, is a huge impact on workforce. So we are primarily fueled, hospitality and service fuel the visitor economy. And that industry was arguably the hardest hit, as we all know, from it had virtually dried up, and it's been an extremely difficult 2+ years for that industry. So I'm proud to say that I don't know that very many businesses that I feel very proud for the percentage of businesses that we had make it out of COVID, especially in the service and hospitality industry. That being said, they're now facing pretty strong workforce issues, and that has to do with a lot of different reasons, I'm sure of which you're all have heard about, but partially boomer generation retiring out or taking early retirement, bad perceptions of safety around service and retail and hospitality, and people that were just burnt out and decided to step away. I think for me, looking down the pipe, that's the biggest threat to the visitor economy and to a big portion of our community is, what does the workforce future look like? You know, we can have all of the amazing retail and fancy restaurants and hotels, and we can have, we have a $7 billion wine industry that surrounds us, that drives visitors from all over the world. But if we don't have labor to support that human interaction, it doesn't look great. So I am dedicated, along with several partners around the city and around the region, to work on workforce solutions that really direct pipeline career pathways through our local high school, through our local higher ed, and into quite a numerous career pathways that we have that are pretty unique in Yamhill County, with over 250 different wineries alone within 20 miles that all have an assortment of, you get in the door through hospitality quite frequently, and you can make your way through a business that has an agricultural component, a manufacturing component, design, all of those things. So I'm very passionate about that, and we'll be focusing on those things over the next year. Let's see, sorry, pull up. So another thing that we work on that is pretty, that drives all of our efforts is data. So I want to put this out there to you in the business community. If you are interested in data to drive decision-making, please don't hesitate to reach out. We invest heavily in that, and we will be investing in some very unique data this year. We will have visitor spending data that looks back at the last 2 years, but we'll also be tracking people's behaviors through apps on their cell phones. So people that are visiting us, where they're coming from, what part of the community they're engaging in, what their likes are, where they, we'll have a very firm grasp of some high level information, lower level information on just who we're welcoming, and maybe how we can direct our efforts both for communication and hospitality to serve them better. Also, can we look at who's coming to do things like who's riding bikes in this area? And, is there, if we're saying come ride bicycles and these are the areas to do it safely, here's the resources and we're putting money in it, is it actually driving visitors? So we'll get to look at that a little deeper. I wanted to let you know that we have a definite we have a lot of interest in McMinnville right now for events, which is flattering, but it's also, how do we say yes to the right things? And we just toured, there's an annual Ride for MS that happens. It brings over 1,000 people to town, to a community once a year, and they're really interested in bringing that here. How do we, could we, should we, what does that look like for our community? Is it beneficial or not? Whoops. This workforce and career pathways, I just talked about a little bit. An opportunity that we're going to be working on this year is EV charging stations. We see a lot more people moving through this area in electric vehicles. And we also know that with electric vehicles, people need to stay and stop and plug in. And what better place to do that than where they can spend some time around local businesses while their vehicles charge. So being in the heart of a very highly trafficked corridor, both for wine visitation and people heading to the coast, we look at it as a big opportunity to support local businesses. This fall, ODOT is issuing a $4 million grant program that we intend to apply for in partnership with the downtown and the city, which we are very excited about. And then further arts and culture support. So you all probably have heard that we are so continue to build more support for what we have in preparation of growing that and sustaining that. So we are actively involved in those things as well. What's next? We have a lot of change happening in McMinnville right now. A lot of people who are interested, a lot of people who are aware. I spend a lot of time touring potential, footing calls for data to support investment, touring people that are interested or opening new businesses. And I can tell you, you're all probably pretty aware of a few of the things coming online that are public knowledge. But if not, I'll just reiterate this summer kind of what to expect. We have seen, we've been waiting for multiple years on the Taylor Dale hardware building, and we're excited to see part of that come to life this year. I know Two Dogs is moving and hoping to open in a timely manner over off of 4th, which is going to be great. But in that space above, we are going to get a very small, extremely high-end hotel called the Tributary with 9 rooms and a very high level dining experience destination restaurant called Okta. Okta is headed by in dining, the highest level of achievements are Michelin stars, and 3 Michelin stars is like the best thing you can get in the world as far as a chef. And the chef that's opening it, we're excited to say, has received two Michelin stars in the past for his restaurant in New York City, and he has traveled and been chef all over the world. So we're excited to have that level of destination opening up in downtown, and should draw some interesting attention to McMinnville as a further culinary and agriculture, culinary, beverage destination. We also see investment from the group, the hospitality group called The Ground out of Carlton, who has purchased the 411, or is opening in the 411 space a new restaurant called Humble Spirit, which is also set to be a lovely dining experience opening next month. And a small boutique hotel called the Boutique Retreat. So these will be a small tiny house hotel village campus over off of 9th and Alpine to further support the potential and investment that the city had made along Alpine Avenue. We have a bike rentals option coming online. So the new owners of Tommy's have dedicated to provide both e-bikes and other types of bikes for cyclists who are visiting our community. We have a lot of demand for that, or for locals who want to try out a new bike. You'll see that open up in a new spot over off of First in the Boho building in the near future. We can talk a little bit about post-COVID, just statistically. How are we doing compared to everybody else? McMinnville is doing exceptionally well in the terms of lodging demand, occupancy, and rates, as well as our consumer spending is going up. So we're trending 14% over our highest levels post-COVID. So we, as a destination coming out of COVID, due to I think a lot of factors, all of the history of McMinnville being the amazing, quaint Rockwellian community that we are, people's desire to travel to rural destinations and to slow down and have space and experience food and beverage position us really well to have snapped back financially faster than many communities who are whose visitor economy is more diversified around large conferences or large events or huge sporting things. We have a very linear we are luxury travel destination, which benefits us in this way particularly, but we also look for ways to develop into, what are those other offerings? What does the future hold? So to that end, we're working with the city to explore, how do we use the airport? Is the airport, what's the impact what's the potential right now with the airport? Is there a future potential where it could serve local businesses and the visitor economy more effectively? And is there an opportunity to partner with all of the exciting things that are happening across the street at the Evergreen Aviation campus? So huge win for our community. And one of the things I'm most excited about and looking forward to is what's going on at Evergreen right now. It's been up and down for many years, and we're thrilled to have an organization and a gentleman with deep roots in Yamhill County and supporting in the wine industry to have taken that campus and put a lot of time and attention into building a good team and a board out there. And we see a lot of potential to the expansion and the master planning process for that project, and how that is such a key destination for family travel and for more mature travelers. So they tend to be sort of families and retirees, and we see a lot of that. And those necessarily don't. Those tourists sometimes are travelers just pass McMinnville by. They do the museum and they move on, and connecting them to actually come in and take a taste or stop at Rodrigo's and get some oil, or vice versa. Can we make sure that these pockets of people are aware of everything that McMinnville has to offer, and can we get them to move from one place to the other in a complementary and cohesive way? So I think there's a lot of opportunity there, and we will be bringing up a wayfinding program back on the table this year. So working with the city on a comprehensive signage program to guide people effectively and aesthetically pleasing way into our community and around. We have such amazing walkable portions of our community. So as important, our main tourism driver right now is Evergreen and is downtown in the Granary, but McMinnville is bigger than that. We have a bigger footprint. So how do we activate and support and look towards a broader scope outside of those things as well? So can we keep those assets healthy and functional and safe and clean while we build strategies for other parts of the community? We have, I wanted to put a quick plug out here to these folks. We currently have a board seat available for our organization for the first time, and we've put it out there publicly. but we are accepting board applications. So a shameless plug, if you know someone, especially if someone has a financial background, because we're looking to kind of move someone, train someone into a treasurer component, or treasurer, not component, treasurer board member. I'm going to put a shameless plug out there. We this year will also be looking to take potentially hire some contract help to help us with workforce solutions around the hospitality industry. So we are working with our partners to actually, all of these things take humans. They, you can have all the resources that you need, but really having someone focused on helping solve these issues is critical for us. So I want to letting the business community know, especially if you have a service-based business or hospitality-facing business, that there is a real effort and activation moving forward to try to make the biggest impact to support workforce, because if we don't have much of a future. I'd love to open it up for some questions, if possible, if you have them.
I have a question, because
Yeah.
I always have a question, right?
Yeah.
So you mentioned the hospitality, training and those kinds of things. And I know you've been working closely with Chemeketa. Can you talk a little bit more about that and how that could impact our community, if you could?
Yeah, when we talk, so I've spent the last year working with Eric Abbey, who leads the hospitality program for Chemeketa all over the state. And Eric is maybe the foremost expert. He's been working in it for 30 plus years. And so he and I have been working to overcome a large hurdle that we have in Oregon. And when COVID hit and we have all these resources to support businesses that are hit the hardest by COVID, or industries that have been, I went out to try to figure out how to get those dollars, because we've been very successful as an organization of getting resources and to put back into our community. So started having meetings with Travel Oregon and with Oregon Restaurant and Lodging Association. And through that work, I mean, Joya, I will ask your question, but I think first to understand the challenge to get to the answer is the hardest part. The challenge for Oregon is that Oregon does not look at hospitality and the service industry as economic development, which is weird. So in a traditional sense, when you think that they argue in economic development terms or traded sector or non-traded sector jobs, when dollars and programs are being allocated to support business on a broad sense, from workforce boards in Oregon to Business Oregon, and the resources and the chain to support all of those things, hospitality and service industry is not at the table in those conversations at 98% of the time. So when we're out trying to support the industries that have been hit the hardest and to look at resources and programming, those dollars are allocated to agriculture, manufacturing, transportation, healthcare, things that are have the certain codes that fall within traditional economic development. So as a state who's facing the challenges that we have coming up with workforce and and honestly a state economy that's a large portion of the economy is built on the backs of the visitor, does not have the infrastructure to support it. So we are playing leaders in awareness of that. So for the first, to do anything, before we can do anything, we need to make people aware of this. That we have to at least be at those tables for the conversations, and we need to have change in how we look at these industries. So that we've started with that. Over the last year, we've got everyone's attention. Travel Oregon has recognized that. They actually issued myself and Eric both awards for that work. The Oregon Restaurant and Lodging Association is on board. And the first step for, again, awareness is telling that story. And to tell that story, we need the data to tell that story. So who's working in this industry and how what are the real wages? What are the real career paths? What percentage are full-time versus part-time? What percent are seasonal? What percent are being captured in other manners of quantifiable economic development codes? And we're getting that. So we've got the data going, we've got the large players trying to figure it out above us. And what we're trying to do is grassroots some programs in McMinnville that we can take resources that will be coming, because we're shaking the tree and saying, and they're like, you're right, this is broken, but it's bureaucracy. So it's a very slow move. We have the Willamette Workforce Partnership, who has stepped up to the table and said, you know what, we recognize that you're right. There's so much, it's not clear in Yamhill County, the wine is embedded in everything. And we understand this ag and we understand this manufacturing, but each one of those agriculture manufacturing businesses outside of the city have a hospitality component. And that is arguably their most important component, is the direct sale that person makes to someone coming to visit them. It's the most profitable and the most, for all of them, the most important. So it's a very gray area. Eric and I are working on connecting Chemeketa resources, Linfield resources. There's a lot of opportunity with the wine studies program that's happening at Linfield. There's a lot of potential to grow the Chemeketa programming. And we think that there's a real great possibility to partner with the school district. The school district has an amazing, we're going to nationals for our culinary program with ProStart. We've got 2 amazing young people who I think are there right now. They're traveling right. So we have state level talent and programming to, in culinary. How do we bridge that and base that in McMinnville to be churning out talent, and keeping it local? And it doesn't, when I ask, I give some speeches on this around the community or around the state. When I ask how many people have worked in a hotel or a restaurant or a service job, 95% of the people raise their hand. And some people, that's their career. Others, it's a launching pad to just, it's a launching pad to other things. It teaches you essential skills, how to listen to people, how to find a yes, how to, be a good communicator. And I think that, I don't know, I feel really, it's one of the things I'm most excited about. And I think we have the most potential in our community to build effective career paths and to keep that talent local with good paying jobs. So it's very vague in details, but that's what we're working on.
Well, Jeff, this is not, let's see, Rome wasn't built in a day. And so to change history or traditionally way things have been done, I think it takes a long time. Debbie with the school district posted in the chat that the students leave on the 20th, and there are 6 of them going to compete. So they're excited to expand the partnership. So, that's certainly an opportunity for us in our community. And as someone that grew up in the hospitality industry, I can say it was a wonderful learning experience for me as well. So I think, like you said, there are a lot of folks. Another question, unless someone else has a question out there. Okay, I don't hear anybody. I don't see anybody. So, you mentioned about where people are spending money and how much money is coming into the city from that spending. So are we seeing it in hotels? We don't have a tax on food, of course, so we're not seeing it there, but where else is it coming from?
So, we're actually get the detailed, we're going to get down to nitty gritty about that. And I can come back and give a presentation. I can tell you big bucket wise, but we'll have strong data to support visitor spending over the next 2 months, which is current and up to date. In a broad sense, it is food, restaurants, hotels, retail, gas, transportation. We do a good amount of money in that, but predominantly it's hotels, restaurants, and of course, retail.
Right. So is that credit card data? Is that where that information is coming from? Okay.
Yeah. So
very interesting.
multiple avenues. So we'll have three different models that we'll be looking at. So we purchased data from an organization called Dean Runyon. Dean Runyon is sort of the standard for travel data across the United States and maybe internationally. That tracks started let's say hotel data and occupancy and spend. That tracks a portion of consumer spending. It tracks it has about 20 different methods by pulling that in. The second thing that we are going to be analyzing is consumer spending data that through MasterCard. So MasterCard holds 35% of all, all credit card or debit card spending. So we will have MasterCard data that we will be purchasing historically for the last 3 years. And through that, you can model, they have algorithmic modeling to make predictions on the full scope of it. And then we will also have the cell phone data. And the cell phone data is interesting because they, coupled with the consumer spending, you can get a pretty good idea of types of things, not just what they spent, but other where they're spending their money elsewhere. And maybe they like to do these things and they just don't know us, and we can get in front of them with a message and say, look, you like small towns and you like
wine,
olive oil, and we can be like, guess what, come check us out. So that's going to be new. The amount of data that we're going to be investing in is going to be new, and we hope to look for ways to deploy that to help answer business questions, the business community's questions more proactively.
And we do know that we lose a lot of folks going to other communities from McMinnville, spending money in other communities because they cannot buy what it is that they want or that they're looking for here in McMinnville.
We do. We have got the city's got some pretty compelling leakage data on what and where they're going and what they're looking for. So I mean, that's that type of data to say like, oh, maybe your business you could open a business to support the need that is being leaked.
Exactly.
That we're losing.
We do have a question from Leslie. What are you finding are the big overall needs community-wise to draw in more families and not just affluent or retirees with wine and food? I feel like the community needs more than evergreen. It's a good question.
Yeah, so that is it's probably the most important thing for me as a person is to address that. And that is I have a lot of ideas. So this diversification of outdoor recreation and arts and culture is an easy way that we can help with that. For us, the outdoor recreation things that we're working on are things like, how do we move forward? We have an idea of moving forward with development of a parcel called Quarry Park. You might be familiar with it. It's a piece of land that the city owns, and we are working with local cycling organizations and nonprofits to look at the feasibility of adding things like pump tracks and trail systems and things that our local families and communities could use. But that would also be an attractive thing for family visitors to roll into town with their bikes and bring their family and use. I think philosophically, from a larger, like if we take it out of just what can Visit McMinnville do, but what can the community do? I think it's to really understand the larger conversations going on around all of these innovation center, the 3 Mile Lane plan. McMinnville needs to be able to provide the amenities to support families. Honestly, with the cost of housing rising up, we're often said, well, visitors are driving the cost of housing up. And I think maybe to a portion, but really that's Oregon land use. And if we look at every community and all of the things that it's getting very expensive. So how do we work to advocate to keeping the cost of living on the state level amenable? How do we provide wages for everyone to make business viable? And then how do we as a community provide amenities that will attract and keep local families? And I know right now one of the hot button topics is 3 Mile Lane. And do we want large retail, out on the highway. And, there's plenty of people that are saying, no, we don't need that. It'll kill local business. There's also the side of the coin is like, well, if we have some larger retail with more amenities, that makes it more affordable for families that maybe, having to spend a lot of gas to drive to those places that they can't find in the community. So it is a complex issue, and I don't know the answer to solving it other than that we have to prioritize it. We have to prioritize not making this just a retirement community for wealthy white people.
Great. Yeah, thank you, Jeff.
If you have ideas, let me know. I'm happy to. I mean, it is literally my number one priority to try to not.
Well, and that's one of the things that, the Stable Table works on, right? Because we are the economic development directors of the community, organization wise. And of course, the Economic Vitality Leadership Council. I mean, economic vitality is in the name. So, those things are addressed in those conversations that we have. And of course, the MAC 2032 program, which we will post on the chamber website. I thought we did it, but apparently we haven't. So anyway, I don't know if it's 6 minutes of 2. I don't know how this hour went by so quickly, Jeff.
I'm sorry, I've talked a lot.
So much, but you gave us great information, and I truly appreciate all of the things that Visit McMinnville is doing and is working on. I think that the partnership that we have with you and all of the Stable Table members is wonderful. I think you bring great ideas to our community, and I'm grateful for that. And Patty Herzog just said, thanks, Jeff and Joya, great presentation. Well, it's all Jeff, not Joya, but thank you. And we just appreciate everything. Thank you so much. Thanks everybody for being here today. We will post this on our website. If you want to get in touch with Jeff, how do we get in touch with you?
Jeff@visitmcminnville.com, super easy. Or pick up, just shoot me an email. I'm happy to talk about anything, taking input, ideas. We are here to support the community. So we should be doing the work that benefits you. So just open door always.
Yeah. So economic development basically has to be a bunch of different things. It can't just be one thing.
It can't. And when it's growing, this part is growing. So how do we balance it? Yeah, it's going to continue to grow. So balance is important.
Yeah. Thank you, Jeff. Thanks for all you do. Thank you, team. You've got a great team as well. Have a great day, everybody. Enjoy. We've got other business support series coming up. So keep an eye on your emails and things like that, and we'll keep you posted. Have a great day, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
I'm going to stop the recording. There we go. Stop.
Appreciate you.
I appreciate you too.